So we spent the last week building our own version of OpenClaw. It's cheaper, it's more secure, has the same core capabilities. And in this video, I'll share how it works. Over the past few weeks, there's been a lot of noise around OpenClaw, previously known as CloudBot. People described it as a 24/7 AI employee, an agent that messages you, it checks your emails, it manages your calendar, connects with your tools, browses the internet, and runs tasks in the background for you while you sleep. And I get it, the hype makes sense. It showed something people have imagined for a while now. And that's AI as a digital employee, an agent that can go off and work without you guiding every single step. OpenClaw connects to your messages, your email, your calendar, and any other systems you give it access to. It has persistent memory, so it can remember context over time, and it can go ahead and take action, so not just respond to you. And look, that's very powerful, but here's the key point. Claude Code can already do all of that. So what did OpenClaw really add? Well, there's two things in particular. The first is accessibility. It runs 24/7 and is reachable through your messaging platforms, such as your WhatsApp, your Telegram, your Slack. So you're not tied to your desktop like you are with Claude Code in a lot of cases. Secondly, it's proactive, so it can message you first. And look, they're both very strong propositions. This is an always-on AI assistant that works in the background for you, but the underlying technology isn't new. OpenClaw is essentially a wrapper around Claude Code's capabilities. What it packaged well was that 24/7 access and mobile messaging. And that's what really got people excited, the ability to have it working while you're offline. But before I show you what we built, here's why this shift really matters. Most people's experience with AI is through a chat window. So like ChatGPT, you type something in and it gives you a response back. Or maybe you have it sitting inside of a workflow automation. Every step around it is predefined. What's changing now is this. AI can run in the background, connect to your tools, handle your tasks, where those steps aren't fully predefined or mapped out. So you can give it an outcome and it goes ahead and figures out how to get there itself. So when it hits an error, or instead of it failing immediately or breaking, it can often reason through it and continue. And that's the shift. So it's not just the automation, it's the ability for it to reason and take action proactively. It's the closest that we've come to a true digital employee that everyone has talked about for so long. And this is also possible with Claude Code and more recently Cowork. So Claude, which most people may know as an alternative to ChatGPT, it's usually experienced through a chat interface like so. Claude Code uses the same core AI models, but it's built to take action. The name is a bit misleading. It's not just a tool for coding, it can do so much more. So you can go ahead and run Claude Code on the desktop app like so. They've also recently enough introduced Cowork, which is a more user-friendly version of Claude Code. So if you find Claude Code to be a little bit technical, Cowork is a great starting point. So you can run it on a server or on your own device using an IDE, a development environment like VS Code or Anti-Gravity. This example here is VS Code. I find it to be that bit more effective. I know it might look a bit more intimidating or sound very technical at first, but honestly, you don't need to know how to code to use any of this. You can also access Claude through your browser extension. So once it has access to your files, to your tools, to the browser, it can then go ahead and execute tasks by itself for you. So in my opinion, there are two features in particular that make this genuinely very powerful. The first being skills. So think of a skill as a SOP, a standard operating procedure for your agent. So the same way that you would hand an employee a clear set of instructions or a manual for handling a specific task, well, the same goes for your agent. You can define how a task should be handled, the context, the tools, the expected outcome. So for example, you can have a skill for onboarding a new client, or you might have a skill for prospecting. So whether that be finding the right decision makers for your defined target accounts, researching them, adding them to your CRM, tailoring outreach based on previous engagements. So you don't necessarily need to define every single micro step. What really matters is just clarity on the input and the outcome. So you tell it where it's starting and where it needs to end up. And a lot of the time, it can go ahead and determine that path in between by itself. The second key feature is scheduling. So you can set it up to run every couple of minutes, every couple of hours, daily, weekly, on a particular trigger. So if it wakes up, it checks what needs to be done, and it goes ahead and executes these tasks by itself. So for example, that might be having it pull a weekly marketing report that covers your ad performance, your leads, and your meetings from the past week, and then send that to you every Monday in an email or in a message. Or have it send you daily updates on your target accounts or news in your particular industry. For me personally, I have my agent send me a message every morning with the meetings that I have for the day, the times, who I'm speaking with. It goes ahead and does prep beforehand. So it does background research on the person's LinkedIn, their company, or any previous email or call exchanges that we've had. And that's what OpenClaw demonstrated. And that's why people got excited, is that it showed that an always-on AI assistant is possible right now. The issue with OpenClaw is firstly around security. So when it gained attention, researchers found tens of thousands of exposed instances. So if not set up properly, someone who knew where to look could access your AI assistant, your connected tools, your data, your API keys. Another issue is around the cost side of things. So OpenClaw runs directly on API usage. People reported unpredictable bills, some as high as $500 in a single day, and having that lack of control around its usage. So if it's not configured properly, it can burn through tokens fast. So yes, the concept is powerful, but for us, the security risk and the cost uncertainty outweighed the benefits. And also, we were already using Claude Code, but when we saw what OpenClaw did, we realized we could build the same capability, but just with tighter control and more predictable costs. So here's what we built instead. Just like with OpenClaw, I can go ahead and communicate with our agent. So Jane's the name of our agent in this case. So I can communicate with Jane via Telegram. I can send her a text, send her a voice note, any files or images. So let me send a quick voice note here. Hi Jane, I'd like you to just give a bit of an overview of what you actually do and what your role is within our business. And like that, it's just going to quickly transcribe the voice note and then come back with a response. There we go. So what she came back with, I'll skim over this. I'm Jane, Ben's assistant. My role is chief of staff, run 24/7. What I do is inbox management, meeting prep, lead tracking, follow-up, execution, CRM hygiene, daily briefs. And the thing is, we're adding to this every day. So we'll look at the different SOPs or tasks that we do in our business, and then we can go ahead and we can train Jane up on it like she was a member of our team. So we then went and built out this dashboard. So funny enough, it was actually built by our agent. So credit to Jane on that. And what this is, we have a chat interface. Again, this can be done through Telegram, WhatsApp. We're doing it on Slack at the moment for the team. We can also see what tasks Jane's working on. We can see what skills or what SOPs that she's trained on. Again, we're constantly adding to this. I'm not going to click onto this because it'll probably show some client or lead information. But what she does is for leads, she does auto enrichment. So any lead that comes in should do a bit of background research, check their LinkedIn, check their company website. If we've spoken to them in the past or if we've had email exchanges in the past, she'll go ahead and enrich that into the lead itself, into our CRM. Same with contacts as well. So these are more clients that we have. She'll go and continuously update the context. So the more we're speaking with our clients, the more she can then update that. So ahead of a call that we have, we're getting meeting prep that has full context. And that's what this tab here is, the meeting. So each meeting that we have, she'll go in and pull all the context and pull all that prep. Schedules are basically tasks that she has scheduled each day, and research is just research that she's pulled. So we will pull competitor analysis, ad analysis, and so on. Integration. So these are the tools that we have her connected up with. And again, we're constantly adding to this. And metrics, this just allows us to see the level of activity that she's doing. So the agent has persistent memory. It remembers preferences that we have, feedback that we've given it, past corrections we've made, so it doesn't repeat mistakes. As I said, it connects with your different tools, and we've primarily given it read access. So mainly it goes and monitors, flags, and prepares things rather than sending on our behalf. We've deliberately limited it and instructed it not to take actions on certain things without our permission. So the cost is simple. Because we're signed up with Claude, we just hook it up to our Claude plan. So in this case, you would need at minimum Pro. What I would recommend is you'd want to be setting up a max account, or even for higher usage, set up a max 20x. And we found that to be well more than enough. And what that costs you is $100 for the max plan, or if you want to go for the 20x, which gives you a lot of usage, that costs $200. And believe me, it's well worth it. So there's no surprises or unpredictable API costs. It runs inside Claude's sandbox and on our own private server. So it has a more secure access than what you would have with OpenClaw. So most people focus on the 24/7 availability aspect, but the real leverage is in the skills, the structured instructions, the SOPs that lets the agent execute consistently, like it's a trained team member. And another key point is it improves over time. So when it encounters a problem, it can refine the skill by itself based on the feedback that you've given it. Or if it comes across a better way of doing things, it can update itself. So the longer that it runs, the more aligned it becomes with how you work. If you haven't experimented with Claude Code or Claude Cowork yet, I highly recommend it. As I said, if you find Claude Code to be a little bit too technical, definitely start with Cowork. If you'd like a setup similar to what we've built and you'd like our help with that, then you can go ahead and book a call with us using the link down below.